All right, welcome everyone to another edition of the Cornhole Insider Podcast, Cornhole Strategy. I'm Joel Karnick. This is ACO Pro Blake Karnick.
Thank you for having me again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're going to do a couple different things today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to flatten out your bag, how to throw a flat bag. Now this, of course, Blake, can vary. We're going to have people watch this and they'll say, mine is different. Everything's a little bit different. There's a lot of unique throws in cornhole, but we're going to give at least people maybe a little starting point here, right?
Yep, as everyone says, as long as your bag goes in the hole every time, you're going to be pretty good at the game. But I mean, stats and everything, trends have shown that whoever has the flattest bag and whoever just has that most consistent rotation is the one who has the most success in this game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people can go in the hole with maybe a bag that goes left to right or maybe kicks and goes the other way. I think the big thing when it gets down to a Blake is when you get to third and fourth bag and you have to push through something. It's really hard. I know personally, it's hard to push through bags when your own bag you're throwing in your hand is moving left to right, right to left. Having that flat rotation and being able to get that bag to hit and really forcefully go right into the other bags is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, if you have that little left to right tilt or right to left, whatever your bag's doing, you have to throw such a perfect shot in order to get through that bag. Whereas if you're throwing flat, you have the biggest range of possibility to push that bag. It makes the game a lot easier, in my opinion.
I think we've got a pretty simple way because it was just today that Blake was showing me. I've got a left to right bag being a lefty. A kind of a basic way to flatten out your bag, and I was playing with it a little bit on how I can get my bag actually to go left to right and even right to left a little bit in a very basic way. So we're going to talk about that. Again, everybody kind of has their own way. We're not telling everybody that this is the way they should throw. But for those who are maybe struggling a little bit, getting your bag to always do the same thing every time, nothing more frustrating, Blake, than a player to throw a bag, it hits right in front of the hole, and it kicks left or right on it.
Yeah, you see, you throw right down the middle, like, oh, I got it, I did all the work, and then it just kicks them left and right. You're worrying so much just about throwing it down the middle that you're not thinking about the spin sometimes, but that's just as important as throwing the bag down the middle.
We're going to give you a very basic way in this episode to flatten out the bag and to get it to do, hopefully consistently, what you want it to do. So let's dig in.
Let's do it.
All right. Okay, and as always, we're throwing our Ruthless bags. I got the Ruthless Vindictive, specially made by Cisco and Josh, Northern Wisconsin Cornhole. What do you got there?
And I got the Ruthless Hostiles. They're my favorite bag right now from them.
Blake's. He's going to show you front and then back a little bit. Now, Blake has one of the flatter bags that you'll see of anybody in cornhole with a lot of rotation. So he's going to give you a little tutorial kind of on the front, and I think looking at it from the back is even going to be more important. So let's kind of give him the basics of this thing.
So first tell the camera what you've kind of been struggling with your spin and your throw.
I've been struggling with as a lefty is I've had my throw, I'm a left to right thrower almost all the time. And we analyzed this actually today, and my takeaway, there's a lot in the takeaway of the bag and where it's at when you hit that backswing. I always talk about golf with Blake on this, that what you do from here to here can only hurt you because you're stopping and you're coming forward. So what you do from here to here and how you're presenting the bag to throw it is very important if you want that flat rotation.
Yeah, so your bag was coming in kind of with a tilt this way for a lefty. You were throwing it, and you would come in and go like this.
And it would go left to right, yeah.
And like you said, we kind of analyzed it like a golf swing. So if you're going like this, you're kind of hooking the bag like in a golf swing. So what I had him do was try slicing it and going this way. So the main thing I told him was, the thing he was struggling with here in his backswing was he was coming here, and he was opening right here way too early. So by the time he would follow through, his bag would become way crooked like it was. So
I guess a simple way to say when you say open is almost like this elbow, and for right-handers right here, this elbow is like turning and just opening up.
Yep.
And present. And again, there are some players that throw like that naturally all the time. But if you're going to start out like this and then you're turning like this, the comeback point is very difficult.
Yeah, that's like pretty much like we said in the golf swing. If you come here and you open up way too much, you're going to be way open this way, and it's just going to spin that way.
Right. Okay. So let's get the takeaway part and kind of show them. I don't know if you want to do it from the backside here, and show them what it kind of looks like when you're going from point A to point B and right in this part back here.
So what I've always kind of learned and heard, shout out to Anthony Ione, Cornhole Science. This is where I kind of learned it from. But best way to think of it is holding, here, I'll give you a little prop demonstration.
Oh, yard light, okay.
Yeah, give you a little pole here. So it should always, when you're backswing and coming back, it should be facing forward the entire time.
So like you have a pole in your hand.
Yep.
Right?
And it should,
right through there.
And it should always be facing forward here to your backswing. There should be no movements at all, or else it's going to get crooked. And when you get here, he says you finger blast out here, and it becomes as flat as can be right there.
And the pipe goes that way.
And what causes that rotation, what causes the rotation in the bag isn't so much, people like to think they have to really frisbee it like that to get the spin, but what causes a spin is those fingers just blasting out like that. I can show you right here, just me holding it right here and just finger blasting like that, I'm getting that flat spin. I don't need any more additional help to do that.
So you're starting basically, I'm a lefty, so I'll show you. You can assume there's a pole in your hand where the pole could go this way, and then it stays there all the way through, and then when you release, it goes like that. So you can put a baseball bat in your hand like this, you would come back, and then when you come out here, you'd release, and the baseball bat would be then horizontal. The
best example of that in all pro cornhole is the GOAT Matt guy. His delivery, he starts it like that, and then the whole way he keeps it flat like that until he gets right here, and then he opens up. He's the best example to watch if you're struggling with this.
And there are a lot of players that they don't do that transition from here to here. I know several players, they'll lay it out like this. They'll already start like that, but then they will keep it, instead of going like this to this, they start out like this, and they get that release, and they've gotten comfortable with that. They're not going to necessarily get that rotation on it, but they'll get 3 or 4 turns out of it.
And there's a lot of players too that they can start it like this and bring it back like this, but they're not, whenever they get up here, they're finger blasting forward. They're not starting with it flat like this and like that, or else you're not going to get any flat rotation. You're not going to get any tight rotation. That's another important thing too. Flat rotation and that tight rotation to keep it piercing through the air and through the wind as well.
And again, this is just something to try if you're struggling, and if you've always wondered how do these guys throw these flat bags? How do they do that? I just can't get it. This is something to try. And that the pipe thing is just so basic. Grab a baseball bat, grab a whatever, just like this. Start like this, come back, it stays straight, come through, and when you get past your body, you release out like this.
Flatten your hand like that.
Yep. There's almost a natural release. When I was practicing with it earlier today, you almost have to, when you get here, your arm just is going to, with that torque, it's going to release a little bit like that, not even trying. But if you just open it up, kind of a snap, almost a little bit of a snap of the wrist, depending on how much rotation you want. Some people really like that.
Because with what you were doing earlier with your takeaway is you were starting it right here, you would bring it back, and then you would open up right here. So by the time you'd get here and try finger blasting, you would get right here like this, and then it would become crooked. It's just very hard to do that if you're opening up too early or too late.
So I'll show you what I was doing, and then I'm going to have Blake from the backside. You'll see what he does to get that tight rotation. And I can get rotation a lot sometimes, but not all the time, because my hand has a long way to come back through to get that thing going. So so I'll show you what I was doing. I would start normally with a throw like this, and I would come back, and my bag I would open up like I talked about before. That open up right here. I would open up, and this would be my point where I'm coming through and forward like this.
Way too early.
Yep, that's opening up way too early. So Blake, you talked about getting that bag, however you start, and that the release, you should have that pipe. You want that pipe coming right through there, right? So
I kept it right here the whole way. If this was my dad, right here, he'd already be here by then. He would have already rotated like that. And then if he tries to open up, he's just going to overcompensate too much.
Whereas psychologically, I'm thinking that when I get back here, I got to get under that bag, and I just have to, spin it, which some players do. Again, this isn't. Everybody's a little unique.
You see all the younger guys, it seems like they're really whipping through, but a lot of that basic spin that they're getting is all coming from their hand and their fingers. When they go back here, it's just for that power, because they throw those carpet bags.
So give us 4 of those ruthless quality, ruthless hostile bags at ruthlessbags.com, where you can put in Carnick 2022 for a 10% discount. So Blake,
Right here.
throw 4 bags and kind of show us and watch how he comes back and how he releases late through and gets that nice rotation. Go ahead.
So I start out here like this, I come back, and then when I follow through, flat, out like that. Flat, and then out like that.
And I think it's important, Blake, that when you're coming back like this, there has to be, I think, a little bit of tension in that arm, right?
Yeah,
When
it can't
not
be
squeezed, you're putting a death grip on it. But if you're loosey-goosey and just floppy, chances are this arm may come back, waver a little bit left to right. So you got a little. Do you put a little tension in that?
I try to keep the same amount of tension throughout my entire throw, because one thing I really struggled with about, it was like 5-6 months ago, was I'd keep a loose grip right here. I'd come back, and then right here I'd tighten up a little bit. And when I would try to follow through, my thumb would grab, because I'm trying to grab on for dear life when I'm trying to follow through, because it's really inconsistent. Then I would just flutter the bag like that, and I still once in a while, because it was such a bad habit, but it's something to work out of my game.
Give us one more, and then I'm going to let him see the lefty before and after, too. So go ahead. Give him one more of what it should look like.
Out, pipe straight, and then follow through.
Nice tight release. Okay, so I'll show you. I'm going to go from your side. Let's switch spots here, Blake.
Sounds good.
I'm going to go from your side here. I'm going to show you what I was doing and why I could not get rid of that left to right. And what I was doing was coming back like this, and again, opening up. My elbow would open up, and you see how Blake had his bag like this, and I was like this. And I just couldn't stop getting rid of that left to right, because my bag would come out slanted a little bit, and it would go left to right, which I learned to live with after. I'm pretty decent at putting the bag in the whole 4-bagger, but the push bag was something I struggled with. So it's something that I changed now. Instead of coming back and opening up like this, now I'm going to do what Blake suggests. I'm going to get a little bit of tension in my arm. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to keep this straight like this, and I'm going to wait and release when I get almost past my body up here, and just let it come through and get a nice flat rotation. So now when I do my push shots, I should be able to get through a little bit more. And I think, Blake, that also helps out with people keeping that bag straight, because, boy, I mean, if you're going like this and you're coming through and you're following through, straightness shouldn't really be an issue. Going left to right. It's just a matter of if you have the distance.
It keeps it as straight as it can be, just keeping on that same plane, same tension, same follow through every single time. If you're moving your fingers or you're adjusting your tension, it's just going to increase in consistency. And every top player will tell you that they have that same start, same backswing, and same release on pretty much every single shot.
And just from practicing today, I figured out myself, and everybody's got to play with this. When I really straighten my bag out like this and I throw, I almost get a right to left, a little bit of a left kick, and that's that overcompensation that we worked on. But now when I tilt the bag just a little bit like this, I get more of a straight. Now if I want to throw my cut shot, then I can just go back to my old ways, and I can just let that cut shot kind of do its thing when it goes in. But give it a shot at home. If you struggle with the flat bag, over-exaggerate it to first. Go straight out. A little bit of tension in your arm. Don't let that bag waver back here. Don't let that forearm open up, and just come through and let it happen out here on the release.
Like everyone has a different release in this game, and it processes for them differently. If you like starting the bag out like this, or if you like different types of grips, as long as you're keeping it the same in your hand, not changing tension, not changing the path in your backswing or the forward, and you're really blasting forward, that's the main important steps to getting a flat and consistent bag.
Yeah, and if you're throwing every one in a hole, you can ignore everything we just said. But if you want to try it, go ahead. A lot of people like to have instruction on how to throw a flat bag, and Blake has one of the flattest bags that you'll find in all of Cornhole. It's a sweet bag when it flies.
It's the most important thing is trying to learn why your bag is doing what it is. Like, I can see that your bag has that tilt, and you've just been comfortable with living with it and trying to get consistent with it, but you didn't really understand why it was doing that. So if you can overcompensate and go the other way, then you can find that sweet spot in the middle.
Yep. So little good
If
tension.
if you can hook a ball in golf and you can slice a ball in golf within 2 holes, surely there's some sweet spot down the middle to hit that ball straight down the fairway.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to do a little cornhole strategy here. We're just going to do some downs, and we'll do that coming up right now. Okay, so we're going to do 4 times. We're just going to come down this way so you guys can see the board, and I hopefully you will see. We'll talk a little bit about trying to keep the bag straight. I'm going to throw a couple bags intentionally my old way and then the new way, and hopefully you'll see the difference on how the bag hits the board and hopefully goes straight.
Sounds good.
Let's do it. Okay, let's give it a run here with what we talked about. I'm really going to focus and I'm going to overcompensate. My goal, I want my bag actually to go from my left to right a little bit, because if I really overcompensate out straight, it should do this. So let's see if I can get my distance with this new finagled throw here.
Good flat bag. And
you see how it hit right of the hole and went left? Anybody who's ever played me, that's a news story right there, because my bag is left to right.
That's the exact opposite of what you usually do, which is exactly what we want when working on your
totally overcompensated. Yep. Okay.
So let's see if I can get the same thing here. I'm going to start it same, bring it back straight, finger blast down the middle. Beautiful.
All right. So I'm going to take my bag, and I found through practicing, if I just tilt it in just a little bit like this, that it gives me exactly what I want. I want it to hit right in front of the hole and go straight in. So I'm going to do the same concept, just instead of straight out, just a little bit tilted. I'm going to keep that flat, coming back, follow through. Okay.
Beautiful.
And it went right in, a little bit right to left on that.
That's what we want. So we can do it again, same thing, same tension, same follow through, same backswing as before. Flat bag, slide straight in.
So now I'm going to throw a bag how I used to throw it, okay? I'm going to come back, and you're going to see it completely different. I'll come back, and I'm going to open up like I normally did before. And my bag, it may go in, but I guarantee it'll be from my left to right. Probably set it up. So here we go. Okay. Now that one skipped. To be honest with you, when I threw that, I thought it was in the hole, but it jumped to the left. And that's what we're talking about, is trying to get to that point where you throw a bag. That's frustrating because it hit right in front of the hole.
Yep.
And it kicked off. So I want that consistency so I know what the bag's going to do.
Do it again. Remember the same things. Straight pendulum. The bat or the pole is not moving until we blast right down the middle. Oh, I thought I didn't get that one.
All right. So I'll go back. But I adjusted, where I'm going to stay a little tight here and stay straight and release when I get up here.
Now let's...
I'm not opening up back yet.
I was thinking about this before also. Difference between sliding the bag and getting that same rotation and airmailing with that same bag. Because if you throw it with a little more power, some people tend to maybe tense up a little bit, or they just change their throw. The best way through your airmail, the same spin or rotation as your slide shot, just releasing it a little later. It'll just get a little more distance. So
I'll try it. I've been working on this slide in, but I'll try it and see. This will probably be deep, but we'll see. So exact same delivery, just a little bit higher release. Okay, and
you went back to your same crookedness as before, because you haven't been working on that much. It's just natural habit. You opened up a little bit early, like we said. Let's see if I can maybe finish with a 4-bagger here. So straight out, same backswing. A little bit later. Oh, got it. That's what they pay the pros for right there.
So our first episode we talked a lot about scenarios, first, second bag scenarios, and about pushing through and when to or not. And this is why we're talking about getting your bag flat and doing what you want to do, because it is really hard to push when you're not sure what your bag is going to do when it hits that board. So we put Blake's first bag right in front.
I put that there. That's a perfect blocker.
Yeah, of course. He threw it there, and there it is.
Yep.
So now I'm going to try to use my delivery, which, again, should have a forward kick to it, to see if I can push through this, or at the very least, leave my bag in front of his. So I'm really going to focus here on straight and getting it to hit right behind his. All right. So I was hot. I was hot to the right.
You had that same kind of spin you were starting with. I could see you had that little left to right.
And again, I've been throwing cornhole for 5 years, and now I'm kind of adjusting my throw a little bit, and it's going to take a while for me not to do that once in a while.
It's tough.
Blake's gonna see if he can lead me a blocker out in front with this one. You do whatever you want to do.
I'll just airmail this one because I'll save the roll tutorials for a future video. Stay tuned for that one. So, just like I talked about in the last round, just a little later release, same backswing, same release. Beautiful.
Thank you. If I can get push part 2 to go here. All right. A little focus here. Get the brain, 56-year-old brain moving.
Beautiful.
A lot better. Now that you can see that bag actually hit on my left side, and I think with my different throw, that probably would have kicked on me, but it had a nice straight, and it's in play, and halfway covered.
It stayed right on its path. It stayed right where it should have been.
Not perfect, but I'll take it.
That's not a bad bag because I had the option of trying to maybe sneak or cut around on that opposite side, but in a game, I'm just going right down the middle. If I cover it, cool. If I go in with it, cool. We'll see what happens. So, same approach, backswing, straight through. I'll take that.
Right.
Jam up the hole.
Now we jammed it up. And again, this is where I focus on getting that bag straight. At the very least, I just want to block right in front of his and leave it all there. That's my goal, is to leave it right in front of his right now.
That's a perfect bag.
And again, I felt myself open up just a little.
Yeah,
bit on that.
I could see it a teeny bit.
Rotation wasn't good, but I'm getting closer, real close. It's not going to happen overnight, folks.
So in a game situation here, we both got one bag left, and I am up 7-2. You put one off the back. So
right.
For me, I am just blocking here because let's say I hit the crazy cool shot and I airmail over yours 2 for 1. That leaves you with a push just to limit it to 3. That's not that difficult of a shot. So if I just lay up in front of everything,
it's
8-2. It's 8-2. And the best you can do is go 2 for 1 airmail, and then that 2 for 1 airmail in the back is 10 times more difficult than an open board push shot.
Plus, if he blocks up my bag, I don't have hardly any options.
Yeah, you have to lay up and give up 5 almost, because that airmail is such a low percentage. So I am just going to lay up and make him do something crazy. Same release, just a little lighter. It kicked on the right, I left it a little right, so I left him a 2 for 2 push.
Some people might want to shoot that airmail yours.
It doesn't make sense for you to push here, because odds are going 3 for 1. That's very low.
Yep. So I would probably just put it on, but just for giggles,
I would try pushing through it.
I'll show you guys how I can get this straight.
Keep that flat bag.
Yeah, I really want it to be straight.
You threw it a little light, but you bumped it, and it was the same as just laying up.
All right, so one more little strategy scenario here before we wrap up this episode. It's the old double stacker bag after 2 bags.
So you threw the first bag, and you blocked right in front of the hole, and I chose to cover up and make you make a decision on where this round's going to go.
So I decide now, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to stack this thing up? Am I going to shoot the airmail? I've got lead bag.
Yeah.
I'll give you my thoughts. Blake, what are your thoughts?
In my opinion, for your bag here, there's no point, unless if you're not that good of an airmailer and you're not confident, you're not going to lay up and cover up anything. I think you're just wasting a bag if you just lay up on the board. Because
I'm going to try a little different scenario. I'm going to see if I can push my bag closer to the hole.
Okay.
I'm going to come in right behind yours to see if I can nudge mine close and maybe make my lead bag.
Very, very important to keep a flat bag here, because if you kick off a little to the left and a little to the right, I have a little bumper that I can use my roll shot on.
Yep. I'm going to try to nudge right behind Blake's bag, push mine closer to the hole, so maybe there's an airmail drag possibility as we get later. So let's give it a
Now, you're going to use sticky side or slippery side on this push? That's important.
Use sticky because I don't want my second bag to go off the back of the board. Because on slippery, left or right, it's going to squirt. So I'm going to go sticky and see if I can just kind of hit right behind your bag.
Okay.
A little push.
That's not a bad bag.
Not horrible.
You pushed the whole pile up, so yours is definitely grabbable now. So I have that bumper on the back right. I'm thinking that a roll shot is perfect here, because worst case, if I miss, it's just going to cover up something.
Now,
but
now what if somebody doesn't have a roll shot?
If you don't have a roll shot, for me, I am probably just covering this up. Maybe there's room on that back side, but I'm just laying up here. But
So,
since I have a roll shot and I'm confident with it, I'm going to try getting in on that right side. Get up. I just left it a little short.
all right. So now my lead bag is in place. I'm gonna see if I can do the same thing here. I'm gonna push right in behind Blake's, knock mine in. The ultimate scenario for me is I want to leave my bag just to the left of his, blocking it, and then knock mine in. So what would you do, Blake?
You could either do that if you were a righty. You could step out on the right. That is a possibility. If you airmailed that, then you would either leave a block for me. The best case here is you make that airmail and leave that bag there. But in a game as knowing what your level is at, I would tell you to airmail it. But for this situation, let's try bumping it. That's a really nice bag. So you and I are both about halfway in there. It's 3-1. Only option I really have is just kind of lay up and bump it and try maybe. I could either try sneaking in on my side or try covering up on your side and making it a 5-4 round. So I'm going to step out a little bit and see if I can bump and try to replace it. This is a very tough shot of the game. Release. That's not bad. I've pretty much taken yours out of play. So it's 3-2 you right now. We both have a bag left.
So if I block,
if you block, you are up by 1. And if you bump, I'd try bumping that just because those are both half in. Try bumping and leaving yours as kind of a cover shot, a blocker.
Again, this is where that
got to stay flat.
So do exactly what you want it to do. A little bit of a turn on that. You can see that. I got a little bit of a habit. Still not a horrible bag.
Now I'm down 4-2 in this round, so I could try stepping out and bumping stuff there, and I think I would give up a point or get a watt. I would give up a point. Or I could try getting both these bags in. I'm in this situation, strongly advise asking your partner on the other end of what's going on.
Or if it's singles, call a timeout.
Yeah. If this is an important part in the game, this is a good situation to call a timeout. Also, you're only down 4-2, so giving up 1 point here isn't the worst, but you do have a bag sitting on them with them. So if you hit it, at least yours is going, and you're giving up a couple. But for video's sake, I'm going to try airmailing this, see if I can take everything with. Later release. Got it to go. And I think I got a point out of that. I got a 7-6. I was aggressive and it paid off.
Oh yeah, such reality.
I don't think I'd tell my partner to shoot that in the game. I would just tell him, lay up, give up the 1, let's move on.
All right, we'll have more coming up. We're going to cover some roll shots because we had a request with that. If there's anything you guys want us to talk about and cover, we certainly can. Again, this isn't an end-all and be-all. I think people enjoy seeing an ACO pro like Blake talk through some of the things that he does strategy-wise. And I think if you guys are having problems throwing a flat bag, check that earlier part of the video again and just at least give it a shot anyway. I was almost amazed this afternoon when I did this and what it did for my shot. It's sometimes we create bad habits after years of throwing and we don't even realize what we're doing. So give it a shot.
Yeah, and if you guys have more questions about this flat bag or if you have any future video recommendations, leave it down in the comments below. Message me or my dad and we'll try to make it work.
All right. Thank you, Blake.
Yep, thank you, sir.
Thanks for tuning in for another edition of the Cornhole Insider Podcast, Cornhole Strategy.